Okay, 9 o'clock, we'll call the meeting order. Please stand for the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You were looking this way, so I thought it was right.
First up, we'll do approval of minutes.
Moves. Second.
Any discussion on that? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. First up, GC1, the moving resolution, renewal for lease, Board of Elections.
Move for discussion.
Okay. First and second for discussion.
I just have a question for Rich, a little clarification, I think, maybe. Number 7 in the lease about duties of repair, it says that the tenant accepts the premises as is and acknowledges that it's in good and satisfactory condition. I know that we've had a few issues over there with some things. When they're talking premises, what are they talking exactly?
You gotta read paragraph 1 in conjunction with that paragraph. The square footage and what we rent is not the bathroom or the hallways or things like that. It's just rooms that we have. So that's the warehouse. It's on the map or on the plan.
All right, just that. All right.
The condition of the other common facilities, we have discussed with Operations Oswego County, and I think they're aware of the concerns about maintenance schedule, repair schedule, and things like that, as the bathrooms and other issues. But we're not paying rent on that.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Right?
I thought that there was a long-term goal we were moving out of that.
There is, but we have to have the space first. And what the goal, what the property committee had talked about was moving, one of the options we looked at was moving the Board of Elections over to Bunn Street when it becomes available when the hospital moves its mental health facility. So that's probably at about an 18-month time. So that's why this is 2 years renewable.
In the 90-day.
Yeah.
90-day cancellation.
Right.
But,
Termination.
what is the old lease price? Because I know that it says
It's
it
the same thing, but we're getting more space. They've given us an additional room for the early voting.
and just to go off Jerry's comment about the problems that have been in the past with, wasn't there leaking in the warehouse?
That, since they put the roof on, that stopped. We don't have it any longer. The biggest issue over there is the bathrooms. Somebody loves throwing paper towels in the toilet and then it all backs up and runs all over the apartment. Cleanliness is one of the biggest things that I have an issue with over there. And it's not our office, it's part that they take care of.
Final issue is one that I just can't see why we're paying any money to Operation, Oswego County, when we give them almost $200,000 a year out of our pilot agreement money, and now we're gonna have to give them another $30,000 a year to rent space from them. I just can't see it. I won't be in favor of it, not because we don't need the space, not because we don't need it, but because it should be given to us. I mean, we give them $200,000 now. I'm sorry, I'm just not in favor of it.
Just in case I'll clarify, the 200,000 is the 10% off of the pilots, and that's earmarked for economic development programs, so it can't be used towards rent. So this is an operational, this is a contract, it's
Yeah,
operational.
but it's not rent, it's just giving us the space because we give them the money. It's one hand washes the other. That's all I'm saying. I can't abide by it. Somebody gives us something, we give them something, they should give us something in return. And they're not. They're making more money. That's my feeling.
Terry?
Do we have with this new addition of this space and everything, we're gonna have plenty of space over there for meeting guidelines and all that, and the regulations?
I believe so.
And I like the fact that it looks like they moved it back So it's more centralized, that polling location would be kind of.
Well, it'll be as close as you can to, the door, handicapped accessibility, and, it'll be a flow of go in one door, vote, and come out and go back down the hall and you're out of the building.
Because I know we talked last year when this was all coming through, you were showing me it was kind of down out of the way and everything.
Yeah.
So.
And it's also the case of we can secure the machines every evening without having to pay for truck rental and people to do that. We'll be able to just take it down the hall and put it under the cameras in our office, our warehouse area, training room. There won't be any cost, any of that, other than the people that are working there. So we're trying to take it as easy as we can on it. This way, we're going to use. We're just going to order extra election day ballots and use those. And we'll use the same poll books that we're going to send out to the polling sites. We'll pack them up on Sunday night, take them out Monday, and deliver them to the poll sites. We're going to mark them with an early vote stamp with the date. Whoever comes in, they'll sign, we'll stamp it. So when it goes out to the poll workers on election day, they will clearly be able to see those people have voted and not allow them to do it again. We're just trying to make this cost efficient as possible.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna, at this juncture, gonna support this, but it's gonna be a temporary, as far as I'm concerned, a temporary support, because Board of Elections is one of our higher profile departments that we have, and those people deserve a little bit better exposure, number one, in my opinion, and also the fact that we can do better than that for our buildings and like that for these people, and I feel strong about that.
Well, there's 27 days of early voting next year, so the public's gonna be coming in, so I like that temporary.
We also, her and I have talked about putting up a sign saying, this is not a Oswego County facility, just so they know it's not you guys, it's them guys that are providing this for us, because it is a nasty looking place.
Right. Just one other point. I saw it's on my computer that shows that it's in red, that they added where they must respond in adequate time to do repairs, as in the past, they just kind of just pushed you off to the side. Is that, how are we gonna hold them accountable to that?
Well,
You know, it's like any absentee landlord, okay, I got your complaint and we'll see about it.
There was a tour with a representative from Operation Oswego County, the commissioners, Phil, and myself, and the concerns with the building, which predominantly are outside of the leased area, were discussed with them. And I think since that meeting, they've been more responsive.
Very much so.
And there's also been issues with fire alarm trips and things like that that have nothing to do with the Board of Elections. It's a central alarm that Operation Oswego County needs to deal with. So we have every hope that they will be more responsible than they have been in the past.
So far, it does seem that way.
Okay. That's all.
Yes.
Just a question about the path, and of course I'm looking at number 17, about liability. When you had the leak, was there damage? And if so, did they pay for the damage?
We lost a machine due to the leak.
And did they pay for it?
Yes, they did. And we've lost ballots. Our printer supplied us with new ballots on that. I don't know if that went through or not, but
Those machines are all covered under the inland marine policy. I know the claim was submitted to our carrier, and I'm not sure whether they paid direct without looking, or our carrier paid and then subrogated against their carrier. But we did get
But
we
they
did,
did
we
reimburse
did get the money back.
I
Yes.
guess, without having to go to court.
Yeah, I'd have to go look. But
Bill, just as a, for point of reference for you, in case you're wondering which, if you look at the map, at the bottom of the map in the center of the building where it says Oswego County Board of Elections 600 feet, that's the additional room that they are renting to us without charge.
All right, so any other discussion? There's no other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have a resolution authorizing creation of 2 new positions for the county clerk's office. In the building, they have the running short of that mid-August, I believe.
I'll second it.
We have first and second. Discussion. Nothing.
As far as, this isn't, even though we knew that this was happening, these were not budgeted for, correct? So we are taking from reserves for salaries? Correct. Which to me seems a little irresponsible.
Hold on. There's,
It'll be coming out of his budget.
right, but there's the
For
other,
this year,
it's
yeah.
not just for this building. The other thing is he took on 7 dealerships, 6 or 7 dealerships with Romano in Syracuse.
But he
They
did not
were-
anticipate.
wasn't anticipating, and there's estimated anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 worth of profit coming in from that, you know, the fees that we have. So that's the addition end of this as well. Yeah, it is.
Well, no, I had my hand up, I asked the question a second, but you know, I'm waiting for if Heather's happy with her answer.
I'm processing it. so.
Okay. Well, I had the same question, and then I called, and that's what I got for an answer. So it made a little bit more sense to me after that.
And our dealers are where we make the most money off of other than the public, so. More
Right.
people, the faster we process, and more money from the back to us in the end, so. It'll be a win-win situation for us. So. Right, do you have a question?
I love win-wins.
Yeah.
Okay, we're adding 2 to the Oswego office, that's what it says, correct?
No, it's one to Alaska and one to Oswego.
That isn't the way it read out here.
No, it is. There's
Justification
separate
needed.
justification.
Alright, what's the long-range plan for Fulton office? The reason I'm asking is because we're adding people, but yet if we're closing, the long-range plan is to close the Fulton office.
We're working that closing the Fulton office was off the table. So this is,
Off the table, but yet we've added how many windows are we planning on having at the Oswego office?
the Oswego office has room for 16.
7.
There's room for 16 total clerks. I believe there's seven windows, but then we have space in the back for 6 motor vehicle clerks to work to process the dealer work that we get, which is our money maker.
Right, and last year we I thought we eliminated a position, a part-time position, and added a full-time position so that the person that was going to be doing, dealerships could come out at the windows and work at the windows also.
We converted our messenger position, which was a full-time position already, to a motor vehicle clerk simply so that they could also process the work and work with computers and systems. But that's not a full-time, she's not full-time working with Windows. So we didn't convert a part-time position, we only have one part-time position. Once that person retires, we will no longer have any part-time positions.
And you won't be able to use one of your, extra supervisors to do the position that we're, asking to hire people.
What do you mean extra supervisor?
Well, right now, I'm looking at how many supervisors we have in the motor vehicle department, okay, versus how many spots we have. Right now, I think you have 3 supervisors at the Oswego office. Correct?
No, we have one one senior motor vehicle clerk who was working the window and doing all that, and we have Kathy Sharp here, motor vehicle supervisor. And we have a float, senior motor vehicle clerk that floats between last night and Oswego.
It's three.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't be.
Just to answer your question, I am currently processing, I am editing motor vehicle work, I am going on the road myself. So I'm doing motor vehicle work here in the county clerk's office. So that's the immediate need for positions.
And
So,
my only concern is that we're adding, people to go off, Legislator Wilbur's question and answer to the fact that we gained dealerships, okay? I know that they were working towards gaining dealerships for the past, at least 2 years that I know of, 2 or 3 years. So it was a possibility that we were gonna try to get these, okay? So we're adding people in, I'm sorry, you're gonna have 7, 8 windows, and how many people are you gonna have to put in front of those windows? How many empty windows are you gonna have when it's all up and running?
at this, if everything was left the way it is without additional positions or help or consolidating one motor vehicle, we will have 4 open windows.
Okay, and you're gonna gain 1 person, and so that means you're still gonna have 3 open windows.
Yep.
Okay, and you got motor vehicle bureau in Fulton that I know right now that if you want to be taken care of down there in a timely fashion in the morning, you have to get there somewhere around 8 o'clock, 8:15 in the morning. Because it's backed up at that point. There's no stopping from that point on. It's backed every day, day in and day out. And I think that the problem for the backups is not the people. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's the people, it's the computers. Computers that are in the motor vehicle bureaus are horrendous.
Part of it is the process of the work too. The same person who edits the motor vehicle work can't process it. So if you edit a registration, you aren't allowed to run it on a computer. A different clerk has to run it. So you have to have a registration. You have to have 2 clerks to do it. So that's.
Richard?
I had the privilege with some of us to be able to attend we'll say, a function of the layout of the building. And the difference between Oswego, for the people that weren't there, and Fulton and Pulaski is not because of the size, it's because of the layout. There's gonna be a separate window, and this is my problem I have in Fulton dealing with being an administrator, getting my enhanced license, on and on and on over there. And I'm sure 7 vehicles, which can be a hassle. I go up to the line, and I get up to the front of the clerk, and you need this form, you don't need that form, you're gonna have to go back and get it. In the Oswego office, there's a separate window, as you enter into that where the bathrooms are, and Frank, I'm sorry, I wish you were there to see this. You walk around the corner when you start into the motor vehicle part, where the people are, there's 2 windows. Now, they're not gonna be both staffed all at once, and I understand and respect that. But you're gonna have somebody to go to there, he or she, whoever it may be, will be able to look at your paperwork, make sure it's correct, and then send you in line so you can be processed. And I've talked to the clerk if there's a lane, and correct me if I'm wrong, this should expedite the time that you're in there. And personally, that's a drive for me, myself also, from where I live, because my backyard is on Onondaga County. And I drive to Oswego more than I do Fulton just because of what you said, because of the backup times. Nothing to do with the people. Probably the most experience we have is in Fulton. But the thing is how it's laid out like this. People will even drive the extra, and personally I do. I'll drive the extra 8 minutes from Fulton to Oswego just because I can get out of there. And this, if we have a state of our building, and at this juncture, and I know this is going to be a little cost, but it's like any investment, there always is. and if the investment doesn't work out, you get rid of it. Let's use it, we have the building brand new, set up to run people through there. Let's staff it and run them through there and see what happens. I personally strongly believe we can do a great job. We can relieve some pressure from Bolton. I know that, and I don't know what the nomenclature is. Maybe you can help me. I don't think it's that important. But Bolton does a lot of functions that are actually non-revenue. And let's staff it and see what happens. Mike has done a great job bringing in, and his people, additional revenue all through, if you look at their budgets, year after year. We have the new state of the art, let's use it. And staff.
You process the mail-in forms and people mail in.
Yeah, if somebody was to mail in, yeah, renewals,
You process them. And have you used, is there an increase in the utilization of people using that?
to be honest, I can't speak to that, I don't have any able to, I'm not completely sure, our mail-in renewals. Number.
Okay.
That just it gets pumped into our totals.
Because we've all been there, we've all stood in line. Some of the forms are complicated.
Right,
I
right.
mean, some of them aren't. Some people just don't fill them in until they get up to the window. But I don't know.
The only thing is there's very few things that you can mail into DMV that
Things that people don't have to think about. Basically, just sign. I was just curious how well it was utilized.
once we do, we had in place, I can't remember what county, because there's another county that utilizes this. We do have mail drop boxes that we would intend to put up once our DMV is fully constructed. Right now they're buildings and grounds, but those you'll be able to after hours drop off your renewal. And we'll, just like a bank drop, you take it in the morning, we process it, so that'll save time and postage for people to.
Thank you.
Terry?
So with the mail-ins, it's not as easy as just putting it in the renewal to put in because that has the Unica processing center already pre-filled out in there and sent back to. So, you know, the constituent actually has to take the initiative to write out DMV, whether it be Oswego or wherever, and an address. Or we have the labels that we put out ourselves and the clerk gives to us, and we put out in our town clerk's offices, wherever public areas, so that people can send it back in and we can retain that fee here in our county. With the Fulton office, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you have one out on a sick related injury right now?
We have one on workers' comp right now.
Okay,
So
so
we're down
we're down a clerk in Fulton. And do you have anybody else at any other facility that's out?
no.
Or I mean, DMV facilities? Okay. And we add these two with the, now Phil, how's that going to work for the dollars and cents, the 25,000? Wasn't there some savings in his budget anyways that he's going to project this coming out of the revenue lines? Or?
Right. Being able to get those additional dealers is anticipating additional revenue at the end of the year and next year.
And then back to the Oswego facility site there, are you counting the two windows that the clerk has designated for the cameras as windows that would be for service as
No,
well?
because those are worked by multiple clerks, so the clerks will have to go to, that's not a specific.
Okay. And then there is an idea for the for two of the windows, if you and correct me if I'm not right on this either, but there was two windows for like quick service, meaning for the ones that you could just mail in or turning in your plates or it cost you a buck, and you just turn them into
Yeah,
there or
there's
something.
quick service windows, and then there is also the welcome windows that we had.
And with those quick service windows in between, they could be working on dealer processing as well,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, just a clarification, because for me, the only thing I'm reacting to obviously is taking salary out of fund balance. So this number, is that 6 months, at the end of the year when you will redo a budget?
Right.
At which point, if this is such a moneymaker, we should have at least $400,000 in the bank, and we can budget for it coming the next year.
Yeah, we're right now. Oh, sorry.
Your 2020, that's okay. Your 2020 budget, you know, this will end up being a wash, and we'll budget the additional revenue to offset this.
Or if it isn't a moneymaker, that's
Get rid of that decision to make.
You know, one of the problems we're having right now with our vehicles is real IDs. I mean, this is something that's been handed down. I was down there to observe what the process is to go through this, and like she was saying that, you know, the lady out front has to process it through, input the information, then take all the forms of identification back to the supervisor, have them checked off on, and then go back and go through the issuance process that after it's been signed
Why
off
is
on.
this tour everybody went on?
No, this is something I did on my own. I didn't do anything with that.
Tour.
So I was just curious of the real ID, because when you walk into by DMV and the line goes from 5 people one day and the next day it's out the door.
You're like, what's going on today? And then it's like that every day since, so.
Richard?
This, I'll tell you what, they put you in a hot seat, you gotta answer all these questions. I'll tell you. You better go down and see Matt and have him buy you lunch. Under your, not yours, under this resolution, there's one thing that I'm just curious about because it isn't specific. It states that we want somebody with a 4-year high school diploma, which I totally agree with. It also says they want the person we're looking for 1 year of college, and it doesn't say specified in what. What are we looking for?
Basic, somebody who can process complex data. Somebody who has some sort of
And it says working knowledge, I can have somebody in 10th grade got something. And one more thing, and keep in mind this, and, it kind of shows off what Heather was saying, actually, is enhanced licenses. We are so far behind that, it's unbelievable, the amount of people that I know that fly, that don't have one, and they don't have a passport. And I believe it's December 31st, I think you have to have it by.
Real ID, not the enhanced.
Yeah, you gotta have it.
October next year.
October.
So I mean, you know, we're gonna get an influx of people eventually. It's coming.
Frank, you got something?
The gaining of the dealerships, that's $100,000 a month, or $100,000 a
It
year.
could be anywhere from like 75 to 100,000. That's what they're
A month or a year?
A year.
A year. Okay, so,
You said 800,000 for the year. Didn't you just say that?
well,
Something
that's,
like a huge number, yeah.
well, that's,
They have a $1.6 million worth of revenue that the clerk's office turns into the county.
right, but it's,
You were saying
the-
additional revenue.
Additional
revenue-
100,000 a year.
the revenue that the clerk's office gives us is not really my point. My point is the profit margin. And again, your profit margin is going to dwindle again. Because right now, what is the salary of these people for full time for next year? For each one of them is how much?
It's about 28,000.
$28,000. What is that with benefits? Somewhere around 45,000. So it's $45,000 a piece. Okay, which means $90,000, and we're talking about a gaining of between $80,000 and $100,000. So we're going to gain $10,000, right?
That's all they were working on for a lot of dealerships.
No, well,
I
I'm
find it hard to
Right,
believe
right.
that.
no, I'm
Clerk's
not,
gonna make it
no, I'm not talking about overall. I'm talking about that we're adding these two, and some of the justification, okay, that you brought up, Legislator Wilbur, was the fact that we gained these dealerships, and it's going to bring us in up to $100,000, between $75,000 and $100,000 a year, but we're gonna spend $90,000 to get that $10,000.
That's
Get
if
that
they,
100,000.
that's if they had just, if they're working on just Romano dealerships.
I know that the other dealerships are already in there, and that isn't what I'm talking about. Your profit margin is still starting to go down again, okay? It was going up at one point in time. When I first started here 6 years ago, it had gone down from the previous 2 years, okay? At that point in time, the clerk and I had a discussion in this room about the profit margin, and he couldn't answer for what happened in the past. He can only answer for what he's doing now, and the profit margin had gone down. Since then, the profit margin started to go up. I just don't want to see that profit margin go down any further than it is, only because we're looking at it, they're making money, and everybody's happy, but nobody looks at what the profit margin is until all of a sudden they're equal, and then it's all of a sudden we're in trouble and we start laying people off because of it. That's what, it won't happen while I'm here, but I'm just saying that in the future, that's what I'm looking at. That's why, I'm asking so many questions, that's why I'm putting in so much input into this about the margin of profit and how much you're gonna actually make off adding these two people. Okay, so, that's it, I'm done. I'm not at the point. Thank you very much for your input.
So where's the rest of the money coming from, so if their actual income is 45 and then you divide it in half, that's, you're still, for two, you're still only come up with 45 for the 6 months. We're asking for 17.
Depends on when he's gonna hire. September second.
Yeah,
So it's
September
actually a
2nd.
quarter, it's the last couple of months of the year. Okay.
That math still doesn't work out. I'm not gonna put bigger numbers for me, I'm gonna have to replay the tape.
So anyway,
I just like the bigger numbers.
You said $200,000.
Yeah, I thought, wow.
What?
That's
Did
amazing.
I miss something? Did I miss something somewhere?
I thought you were talking about like
It's a no-brainer.
profit from the last quarter. That's
What's that?
Where'd you get to 45?
That's a Frank, you just told Frank it costs to do
No,
one.
all we
one
gotta
person
move,
for
all
a
we gotta
year.
do is move in the budget to salary inflation.
That's all you're looking at, salary.
Right, and the 45 is a misnomer, it isn't correct either, because that includes a standard percentage on health insurance, but we're self-insured. What an individual employee actually costs us is, that's an sick pay. So that's just an average across
Okay.
the entire workforce, so that's why we don't have to make changes, when we add a position or delete a position, we don't have to also change what we budget in health insurance, because it's such a small component of a huge budget, and you don't know how sick a person's gonna be, or if they get sick at all. So there's no budgetary adjustment to those things. That's why it's salary inflate all.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? None, motion carries. Next up, we're going to have a discussion of municipal participation in the website shared services study.
Yes, last year, as you're aware, there's a shared services plan. One of the components in that was, since the county was rebuilding its website, the possibility of hosting town and village, other municipality sites on it as a savings that we could then apply for 100% reimbursement to the state with. We're at a point in the development of the county website where we can offer this to the towns and villages. As you know, the shared services plan is non-binding. It takes both parties, when you actually get down to brass tacks, they have to agree to it. All I'm looking for today is permission to extend the offer to the towns and villages, the municipalities. What our new website has the capability of doing at no additional cost to us is hosting websites for the municipalities in a template that gives all of Oswego County a uniform look, but also enhances the services that the towns and villages and cities can provide to their residents. Their sites would be ADA compliant, which probably most of them aren't right now. They'd be more secure. They would offer online tax bill payments, PDF archiving,
online forms for them. And what they are currently doing on their own sites, putting up minutes, meeting notices. It doesn't have the full functionality of our site, but it is improves over what most of them have. What we would do is take any municipality that signed on, we take the savings that they would experience from not having to pay posting services and not having to pay site development, and at the end of the year apply for the shared services grant that would reimburse us for that equivalent amount. The Public Information Office has gotten quotes, done some research, found a low end and a high end range of potential savings. If every single municipality came on at the lowest estimates would be about $84,000 in savings to the taxpayer countywide. Higher end development and hosting services that the towns and villages might have to pay for comes in just under $300,000. So we have this opportunity to provide the municipalities an opportunity for better websites at no cost to them, and get this grant that would reimburse us for that equivalent savings. They would have the ability to update their own sites. So what I'm looking for is just a formal motion from the committee to allow me to offer this to the towns.
Who for the county would administer this, do this work?
The Public Information Office, which is part of the Tourism Office, that's where our webmaster is. Revise is the company that's rebuilding the whole website. The villages and towns, as I understand it, would still have access to update their own sites, and would be trained to do this by Revise. So there should not be a lot of additional work for us.
Okay, we have current capacity?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yeah, so with that being said, I've talked to like my town, both of my towns, and they both have their own websites, and they would love to improve their websites, and they think that this is a great idea to, help them improve that. I mean, when you have a town that's, the town clerks are doing a ton of work, and they only have one deputy to do that work, and then, the supervisor's trying to upload, new planning laws and put them on there and everything. They'll have the capacity to put all of those documents that they're putting now, such as their town budget and all of that up on there. It seems like Hugo counties, it's, they allow their towns to do it in their villages, but it's very slim from what I've seen of the information they can put on there. And the other question was, will they be able to have their own identity on there? What I mean by that is like, let's say Hannibal, it's like purple and white and all that. Or are they going to have the standard format that the county has?
There's a standard format, the colors and things like that, I think are changeable.
Curious
on it. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to have Bill look into this and go forward with the town. I think it's a great idea, and it's a shared service, something that we can't, we can't deny them from. And, like I said, my town's really shown interest in it, especially while they're trying to revamp their website.
Michael first and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Phil, maybe I misunderstood during your dissertation on this. Did you comment or make a comment that the towns would be able to basically pay their taxes or something along that line?
Yeah, you'll be able to pay your taxes through the county website. And I believe, and unfortunately, both the two principals who've been working on this for us are out today. That's why I'm pitching here. But they would be able to take other payments through the site as well. So yeah, they'll be able to do transactions with their consistency.
So they'd be able to pay like their county taxes, or village taxes, or whatever municipal taxes are. Hire somebody to sit there and sell this program, because it would save our taxpayers a ton of money for these tax collectors that we have that we don't need.
One of the other benefits is we're seeing more and more regulations passed down on websites, particularly government websites, like ADA compliance. You got to be able to have a website if you're a government that hearing impaired and sight impaired people can use. That's what we have, and they will, any town or municipality at the same time, they have to benefit the same thing, so they won't have to worry about that type of security and that type of compliance.
Sounds good to me.
All right, we have a first and second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Next up, Board of Elections. Early voting, advertising discussion.
Hi. 49 pieces of new legislation, 23 have been signed into law. One of our mandates is to educate the public on early voting, so we decided to get creative. We decided you can pass that one that way, this one this way. Some of the other counties are getting pretty creative with how they advertise early voting. And one of the ideas that we basically heard from another county is placemats. And we would distribute them to various diners. We have a list of 53 possible locations. We designed that ourselves in the office, and obviously we didn't budget for all of these 23 new pieces of legislation that came down this year. So we would like to get 25,000 of these printed and disseminated to various diners around.
I've handed out a, what would be a handout that we could give to the candidates that are out going door to door to,
It's like a
hand
pamphlet,
people-
trifold.
try to go here, just to, for handout, we can produce these right in our office. We can put some at the motor vehicles and to give people the idea of when early voting is. And also, we were gonna send out, we had them at the primary election, that give a list, and we were gonna send them out to the, town clerks for them to post in their offices.
We actually have to submit samples of what we have done in our annual budget to the state board of elections. So this is some tangible, real world pieces of advertising that we could use to get out the word.
Jared.
So, what have you talked to these diners, like they're all willing to put them out there? Because I know like in my diner in my town, we take the placemat thing like that, and that's actually a big fundraiser.
Yeah,
for the park.
we
And
have
they're
a
not
list of 53. We're waiting to see if you would, we got a quote as low as 10 cents a piece, full color for that size. So we haven't actually, we compiled a list, but we haven't started calling yet. And it only has to be for a certain amount of time before early voting kicks in. So we were thinking if we gave each of the 53 400 or 500, that would be literally a week's worth of
Well,
advertising before
So
the
10
election.
cents a piece, what's the difference between doing that or putting that as a flyer on the door? And then you're saving, you only have to do
Well,
53.
I think it's attention span. I think if you're forced to sit there and wait for your food, it's in front of your face. But if you're on your way in or out or hungry or late, that you don't stop and read the bulletin boards all the time, it would be about $2,500, $2,500 to get 25,000 printed, and we would deliver them and disseminate them throughout the county.
I guess my follow-up question would be whether diners would want to put these out. I mean,
Like I said, it'd be about 1 week. They would only have to put them out.
But, and just to follow up to his question, the question is, if I have a diner and I have sold placemats
Mhm.
and I have guaranteed those businesses viewing every day as a part of their money, as a diner, am I willing to take those placemats off so that we can put it on? And I'm not saying that they wouldn't. I guess I would want to know whether they would before we put the money forward and be able. If you have 53 diners and only 2 say, yeah, I'll do it because we're willing to do it, but the other 50 some odd say, yeah, we can't because we have guaranteed to our advertisers placement every single day, 365, then it doesn't make sense to me. So without that piece of information, it's just hard for me.
We haven't got that piece of information yet. We were just sort of showing you that we're trying to be creative with some of the ways to make this
No,
information
and I
public.
agree. I mean,
There's the usual ways, the newspaper and stuff like that, which,
Which we have to do anyhow.
yeah, we're
We have to
forced
put
to
it
do
in the paper.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, what are the parameters that have been given to you? Because it does feel like we don't need to overachieve, right? This isn't like getting out information that's public safety and then it kind of becomes
Right,
really about this is another option for you. That's gonna cost us a lot of money, but anyways, so we don't have to overachieve, so what are the parameters that the state has given you that you just need to make sure that you're within?
Just the fact that we have to try to put it out there. There's no real,
Well, before the elections, we have to put it out there, in the newspapers, along with
yeah,
our
well,
poll
that's
sites
in
and
law
everything.
for every election. We have to put that out there.
Sure.
We have it posted in some of the poll site, or some of the clerk's offices now.
Early voting
I've delivered them. We had it out for the primary election, and we have all of those that we had laminated, and I figured we could put them in the mail, and it's 60 cents a piece to get them out, and they can post them from now until through the election. No, we don't have to overachieve. And we don't know if, I don't know if people will go for that,
Right.
honestly, because people, they already sell that advertising.
But it'd be about 1 week's worth of placemats.
It's just a lot of money. It is. We understand. That's why we're here first.
We did that part first.
I'm gonna agree with Nate on this one section, the fact that, the advertisers are already paying for this, and it's kind of a slap in their face in one way, and you don't know what the politics of a lot of these are, and that's a dangerous situation. However, on the other flip side of this, I don't, you gotta remember, Schuylkill doesn't have a lot of diners, period. It just doesn't. It's not like Fulton or Oswego or whatever. Everybody looks, yeah, the majority of people will look at where the poster of the fact that where they have the pegboard,
Right.
where the church dinner is going to be, garage sales, things like that. They all look at that because it kind of stands out and it's by the door. They look at it. Do they sit there and stare at a placemat? I couldn't tell you what's on these things because I don't look at them. That's me personally. I don't know about the average Joe and Sally. If they need that kind of entertainment, so be it. We could take each one of our, you have quite a staff of people over there. You could take each one in their own, we'll say, district or area where they live and send them home early and have them go out and put these notices on their boards like that and have them talk to the people. Because most of them should know the people in their area. No question about it. I don't know what do you got, 12 over there, 14?
10,
10?
counting us.
All right, well, we have an opportunity to utilize those people, we're already paying them. There's not gonna be a lot of stress between now and election day per se, until we get into that. And utilize those people, you got the horses, let them run. And again, I just think Nate is right. If I'm sitting there paying for advertisement for, Butch's Plumbing, I want that advertisement for Butch's Plumbing every day. And that could offend somebody, and I'll tell you, the worst thing to do in a small town, and we're a tiny county, is offend somebody, because that gets around real quick.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. How much is it gonna cost for these? We're doing these in black and white, or are you doing these in color?
That would just be
We
we
can
get
do
them
them
right in the
ourselves.
office.
Alright. Are you, we had, somebody sitting behind me actually recommended we, take these to the fair. We can put them in our county building up at the fair and promotion and tourism puts a lot of public service announcements up there. And then I know like Center Square Apple Fest is coming up, things like that. I mean, I think that outreach and one-on-one talking to each other, or, to the individual constituents, would be a heck of a lot better than a placemat because, not necessarily, not even just the advertisements. I agree with that wholeheartedly, but I mean, how many people, when they go to a diner, are sitting there to read their placemat? They're there to eat. Lots of times, if you're like me, you're there to talk. You always
You're
go with a
reading
group
the
of people, reading the newspaper. I know. I'm making it. Usually drink coffee, but anyways. So, no, I don't know, I think 2,500, and if we're not being told from the state we have to do it, why are we going to, do it then, you know, if we have other resources and ways to get it out. I know the county has a Facebook page, we should put it on there, Twitter,
is. It's out
everything
there.
else, it's on our website. I don't know. I mean, give me some of these, I'll take them to the next town board meeting,
Yeah.
you know, 2 towns in a village, I go to them every month, I'll drop them off to them, so.
I would do the word sign for the record. I would have done the word sign for the record. Yeah, but.
So what are we looking for? Right.
And if you'll notice, the word search is unique to Oswego County.
Frank's doing it.
I guess I gotta,
He has a question on the word search.
Put it in your school bus, Frank.
I guess I kinda gotta go along with the rest of, this is a rarity,
Better things are happening.
it's, we've already done the mailers for your place to vote, correct?
Mail check, yes.
Mail checks, you already done.
And it was on there.
It was
That
on,
was in April.
okay. So that kinda covered all your voters, okay? If we put these on placemats at, diners, they may not, you know, half the people in there may not be voters, because how many people have we got in Oswego County versus how many registered voters do we have? Okay, and they, going off in Registered Wilbur's point that there's mandates that come down from the state that are unfunded. And this is not mandated for us to do it other than what we've done, okay? So why would we want to take on a cost of something that's not mandated, okay, and not gonna be funded? I think it's, you know, your initiative to try to get something out there to get everybody knowledgeable on early voting is nice, okay? But the point is that people that are gonna wanna vote early already know about the early voting, and we just have to put up the times that we're gonna be open and or a number to get in touch with us. Okay, that's my point. Again, the meetings, the town meetings, the common council meetings, just my common council meeting, we get 5 people usually there. It's usually the same 5 people, so we.
You only have to do it once.
All you need is one
I'll just
vote.
give you 5.
But, you know, those are the kind of things that it would work better than, a placemat or a mailing, because I know now if we did a mailing, how much would it cost us for an additional mailing? Like, a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Right, okay, so in the future, maybe we could put it on the card somewhere. If it's already on that card, then we're all set.
Yeah.
That's my feelings on it. Not the foo-foo what you've done, okay, but we can use it for the town meetings and stuff like that.
Right.
But, that's my point. And I didn't mean to shock anybody by saying I was gonna go along.
You feel okay, Frank?
Don't worry, I'm still getting warmed up for public safety.
I mean, what kind of numbers would you actually be expecting for early voting? Do you think they're really gonna be?
This year, we're gonna have the same people that have always come in to vote
Absentee.
absentee. They're gonna be the snowbirds.
I was just
And
gonna
then-
say that,
I
we've
mean,
had
it-
early voting for years, it's called absentee voting.
Absentee.
The only difference is now you have a designated place for early
Right.
voting instead of your own thing.
I think in 2017, it was like 1,500 that came in. They're the snowbirds. It's husband and wife, 2 by 2. They come in because they're leaving, and that's the permanents are still going to vote permanent because they don't get out. So it's not going to be a lot. Next year's going to be a different story. Next year it's going to be
27 days of early voting for 3 elections, so
How many days?
27.
next year. We have 3 elections next year.
They're gonna start voting in like May.
Well, the April
yeah, so
28th is.
So March, they'll start voting in
No,
March.
it's 10 days before the election, so April 18th, they'll start voting next year for the presidential primary.
That's where the money's gonna come in. I mean, that's gonna cost us a lot to staff early voting for the hours that they're asking. And that's why we're trying to keep everything else down, is because that's gonna cost us.
Well, in off years, it's like 30% voter turnout. So, but in next year, it was 69% in 2016.
For the presidential.
For the presidential, yeah. So it's gonna be a lot more foot traffic, I'm thinking. For my first presidential.
Okay, moving right along, we've got the increase in election inspector pay discussion.
Yes. In 2005, the state told us that we had to have, central location of voting. That's when the Board of Elections brought in all the machines. All the old machines had to come to our office. That's in 2009, we had the electronic ones. We set up a scale where if you were a trained, certified election inspector, if you're working a primary, it would be 110, and if you were working a general, it would be 160. We have not changed our rate of pay for our inspectors, and we went online and looked at other sites, and some of the pay is as high as $250 a day. Ours was the absolute low at 160.
We made like 10, 15 calls. We were absolutely the lowest. And I will tell you that the Dems were down 74 poll workers for the primary, and the Republicans were down 40. And that was part of them.
Well, we started to take heat when that class. Number one, they're mad about the early voting because they don't feel we need it. And number two, they don't feel we need the extra hours and
For the primary.
for the primary.
Yeah, the
Which
primary
I have
hours.
to agree with all of that, but we have no choice. But we would like to bring up the pay to at least 180. We were gonna budget 200, but we would like to bring it up to at least 180, so we're a little closer, and it would possibly make it a little more palatable for the people to come and work, because right now they don't want to. They don't want to, a lot of them would work the primary
It's a shorter
because
day.
it's a shorter day. And I know I had a couple in, and they said they love doing it, but where it used to take them 1 day to recover, now it takes them 2 because they're getting older. So,
It's a 17-hour day. So it'd be $180 for a 17-hour day. It's still not minimum wage.
which we don't have to pay.
Right.
We
We are not obligated to pay minimum wage, but we can't get people through the door.
So,
How many workers should we have?
440 is what we're mandated to have, 2 for each.
440, but
We're never close.
Exactly.
Never. Since I've been there.
If you raise this from 160 to 180, what was the financial impact total?
25,000 for one election.
$9.41 an hour to $10.58, right?
Well, I figured $20 times 440 times 3 elections would be the increase over what we're already paying and budgeted.
Now what about for the primary, are you raising that too?
Well, they're all the same
they're all
hours.
the same hours now.
No, I meant, you said 180 for the general.
It'd be 180 for everything.
Oh, 180
The
for
reason
everything.
it was less before is because of the hours,
It
Right.
didn't start
which
till
now
noon.
they're all gonna be the same.
New York City pays $250.
That's
Monroe
we're not in
County.
New York City.
Well,
No.
Monroe pays $200 right next to
We're
us.
under Jefferson, that's where I went, is Jefferson, and I think they were 200. I tried to get a county that was about the same as ours.
Good analysis.
But this is not budgeted, right?
You don't need this right now, right?
No, we wanted to put it in the budget for next year.
So we can have a discussion.
Yeah,
That's certainly gives us something.
it's not what we don't wanna,
My opinion,
Give me a.
my opinion, I paid them $250. I'm sorry, I talked to people that work the polls, and some of them are saying no, but because, you're talking about, the polls open at 6 o'clock in the, 6 o'clock
They
in
have
the
to be
morning.
there at 5:30.
And they're there until they close, about an hour and a half, sometimes after they
10:30.
close. And it's ridiculous that they're sitting there this whole time. This is a service for the taxpayers, and I'm sorry. It costs us $250 to have people there to make sure that the voting is done properly, and everybody gets through there. That's what I would say. I know that, you're only asking for 200, and I'm saying 250. Only because I know that it's a long day. You can,
Are you looking for a job?
Nope. I'm done in December, I'm done. That's what I would say.
It is a
Peggy, I'm
long
sorry.
day.
It's
Even
tough on
if
them.
we could manage to give them extra when it goes past 9:30, that was one of it. Whatever. I mean, we can't hold an election without the inspector. If we have all Republicans sitting there, we can't even open the polls. We have to have it's gotta be bipartisan to even open the polls. I know in Palermo one time, there was no Democrats. The first guy that was in to walk or to vote, they pulled him and put him at the table, and he worked many years after that.
They made a big deal.
He had to sit down because they couldn't open the polls.
So I was 74 short on the Dem side for this primary. She was 40 short. We're budgeted
And
for
that's not
440.
necessarily because of that, though.
No, that's not necessarily because of that, but I will tell you that, about 2 days after the election, people start calling and ask when people rely on that money. They start calling about 48 hours after the election and goes, yeah, and you would not believe the way the phone rings until those checks go out. They ring every day. And that if we gave them a little more money, I mean,
It's not gonna help because they've already written checks on it. I know that because I had somebody call me on that.
it's
But I mean, the people need the money.
I'm gonna jump in here right ahead of all these, okay? As far as I'm concerned, you'll get it, and I'll get my, caucus to vote in favor. You're gonna have to talk to Republicans and give them the 250. I won't be here next year, but I'll be voting on that budget this year, and I'll say yes to it. Talk them into it.
Can we split shifts?
That was,
Well, the thing with split shifts is somebody will sign it up for a split shift, and then the other one won't come in.
and there's
You
the
can't rely on them.
and I was thinking of actually going to no parties. For a day, they get designated you're a Democrat. I don't know that I'll get more people, or I can NOPs. It's in election law. Every day you take an oath that election.
You're a Democrat today.
change shirts.
So for that day, and I would use a no party and make them, they sign the oath when they sign their voucher, saying that I will, discharge my duties in a nonpartisan manner and whatever.
They're
But
not supposed to have party when they're there.
everything is
Just
supposed
like
to
at
be
the Board of
bipartisan.
Election.
You can't talk politics. It's no party. So I really don't know what to do. Otherwise, I'm hoping that some financial incentive usually cut right to the chase.
We still recording?
Okay, good.
I'll
Yes.
agree with both of you on one matter is that I can't speak for every town. I'm Hamble, they got a lot of young people there. But in Schuylkill, we have a lot of elderly people. And the problem there is not that because they're elderly. The problem is they were in agriculture. They didn't pay in the system. And I don't know what Frank, I know you'll know this now. It used to be 660 was the very low base of Social Security. I don't know what it is now, but you're right. These people depend on it.
Yeah.
Because that's
Like
quite possibly putting groceries on the table
A
or,
lot of it is, the November election is Christmas.
yeah.
They want that money by December 1st. And
like 70% of our poll workers are over the age of 70. It's like the vast majority. So they
Whoa.
rely on that money.
Getting up there.
So
We have some that are over 90.
So I understand what you're saying. Where we can go with this is gonna be very difficult just because of the wage issue. I'm not saying we can't give you a raise or give those people a raise, I get that. Please don't put it out there that, you know, we're looking at Jefferson County or Rockland County or whatever. We have to come up with a realistic figure that our taxpayers can afford, because we are an elderly county. Believe it or not, I am in the middle, and I'm not a kid anymore. I've been drawing on Social Security quite a while. And in my town, there's a lot of people that are a lot older than I am by a long shot. Thank God modern medicine and people can live longer. But, you know, we gotta be realistic.
Well, those are the same people who need that extra $200
I know
3
that.
times a year.
I
So
agree.
it's like it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
It's really it's a sad statement that they do need it, that, and they are elderly, that they have to have this. And they put themselves through the torture of sitting there. I know it's
17
torture because
hours.
we sit there ourselves. It's hard.
Well, there's a need, and it sounds to me like there's a demand for the money. So there's a, you know, economics 101's telling me something's not matching here. We have people that need the money, and we got some money, but they can't get anybody. You were 74 short. How'd you operate with 74 short?
It goes Republican, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Republican, Democrat, and they literally pull up a chair between 2 tables, and because each election district has to have 4 inspectors.
That's part of the reason we did the consolidation, because when you had the, of the poll sites, when we used to have 1 town, 1 poll site, like I said, Palermo had to have somebody come in. When we started putting them together, we're able to use less people because there's others there to back it up.
Well, and the apathy of this county is horrendous. I mean, I went to the primary, I think I was the only one in there for 15 minutes. Oh, yeah. Had it been 20, 30 poll workers. But
It was 12%.
That's a different problem, but, and I mean, that's a long day. I'm certainly open to exploring different ways. I don't know if it's a flat rate for every hour out there, but I think we have to weigh it against, it's going to be a very busy election next year without a doubt. The early voting cost of that, and the fact that we're probably going to lose somewhere in the millions of dollars of tax base because of this late problem that we don't want to deal with. So I'm certainly open to discuss it.
Yeah, I think at this point, we would look to your budget request when you put it in and see what you have, maybe a little chart or something, if you can get other counties of our size and see exactly what they're paying and everything, because until today, I didn't know that we were the lowest in the state.
We don't know, so.
We didn't know until we started looking either.
But I definitely would look forward to that.
That information, and you know, that's a good discussion that we have to have at much time in this.
Well, it's civics, it's democracy, it's I think where it's not necessarily mandated that we pay them more, that there certainly should be as much incentive for getting people to do their civic duty as these other to drive or whatever. You know, I think that, you know, DMV or records or whatever, I think we're just as valid, and you know, and like you said, it's a public perception, and I think that with 49 new pieces of legislation, and 23 of them passed into law, 7 days of early voting, I think we're going to be more and more in the public. And I think that if we head out some of these issues before, you know, maybe voter participation will go up. We can only hope.
And instead of, for the poll worker situation, instead of always putting a negative spin on it too, like a lot of us are so quick to do, we also ought to think that in 2019, there are a lot more people with pensions out there too, and they don't need to make the $180 to sit there. So they're more apt to say, well, I'm going to go spend the day with my grandchildren now that I'm retired, instead of going and working at the polls. So we need to look at both sides of that. Because I have a few people in my town that I've asked about this, and they're like, for $180, I'm not sitting there all day. I have better things to do. Even for $200, they're going to tell me that. So
I think because of the timing of this past primary, being that it was the last day of school, the last week of school,
That was huge.
That's where the poll workers were, because they wanted to be at the graduations for the kindergartners and all of that, you know. that's why we were so low for that, and I don't see that changing, seeing that that's where the primary is gonna be at all from now on, in June. When
Or
school's closed.
Thursday. Whatever.
I know it's more than me that thinks family first, so.
Any other discussion on this subject? If something to look into, we'll go from there. Thank you for all the information.
Thank you.
Really, anything for real property you want to discuss?
Okay.
There you go, Tom. Everything's good.
Move to adjourn, then.
Second.